Hello and welcome to Georgia Bulldogs Live here on the Georgia Voice of College Football. I'm your host, Matt Green, and my co-host over there, Bo Underwood. Bo, how you doing this evening, I should say?
I'm good, Matt. How are you?
Oh, I can't complain, man. I cannot complain. The sun rose again today,
Hey,
even though some of
love
those
that.
Georgia baseball fans out there may not have wanted it to, or may not have thought it was going to, I should say.
Dude,
But yeah, what a heartbreaking loss that was. I can't pretend like I cared about Georgia baseball all season, but damn it, once you get to the NCAA tournament, things get ramped up a little bit. And for a team that was the 7th seed nationally, like that team was supposed to get to the College World Series, right? Like they were one of the top 8 seeds, and don't even get out of the regional. So Oklahoma State with the walk-off homer. And I was watching a little bit of the Duke game too on Saturday. But yeah, it was it felt like a Braves game, honestly. Just getting two on, no outs, and not cashing in. Like, oh man, it was frustrating.
It felt like a Braves game when Shane Green was the closer.
Shane Green, that's a name right
But
there.
it felt like
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. It's just like I feel like there's so many Braves games where you're like it takes 3 hits to get someone to score
yeah,
sometimes. But yeah, that's what it felt like kind of watching Georgia a little bit. Like just getting guys, I think it happened in that Oklahoma State game, if I'm not mistaken, like a first and third situation. Yeah, that's when the dude lined out to first and then they got the double play.
yeah,
But yeah, it was a frustrating one. Oklahoma State with the walk-off home run. Let's just ignore the fact that Georgia's the home team having to play as the away team. I just that grinds my gears. I know it's a tournament, but I don't like it.
yeah. I think it's weird. It's been explained to me multiple times like why they do that, but I still feel like I'm allowed to think that it's kind of stupid because they're playing at Foley Field. Like Georgia has a clear home field advantage already. So I don't know what you accomplish by like, oh, they're technically the away team. Like I don't
Yeah.
understand. But
Well, see, and it
not,
makes
not
sense
that
to
I,
me.
not
Go
that I
ahead.
think
Go ahead.
the game or anything. I just want to make that clear. But
Yeah, of course. And it makes sense, like if they got to the next round, and they're playing Duke, and Duke is the team from the winners bracket, and Georgia's the one from the losers bracket. Okay, well then that kind of makes sense that Georgia's the road team.
yeah,
And then once it's tied up, it seems like that advantage should go to that home site number 1 overall, number 1 seed in the regional. But yeah, it was just very strange. Like if both teams are 1-1 in the losers bracket, why would the top seed literal home team not be the
yeah,
home team in the game?
yeah, dude. I don't understand it. It's such a deflating end to the season. I mean, I was following the team obviously for the whole year because that was my job as sports editor
Yeah.
of Black and everything. And going into the year, I was like, okay, like they did a good job of getting guys in the portal, but you're trying to replace the 3rd pick of the draft in Charlie Condon, and then also another All-American in Corey Collins. Team is probably going to take a step back this year. And then not only do they not take a step back, they're even better than they were last year. They set the record for home runs, or like a team record. They finished the year I think they were like number 2 in RPI, which again, not to
Right.
sound like a homer or complaining or anything, but they got pretty underseeded, I feel like, in the tournament as a 7 seed. They got a tough draw, which again, not complaining about that, win your games, but still. And it's
Yeah.
like this just felt like a team that was destined to finally make, Georgia's first College World Series since 2008. And then you come out there, you win your first game in the regional by like 20. You won like 20-4 or whatever the first game was. I was actually at that game. It was awesome. And then
I bet.
just to collapse the way that they did, it is shocking, and it's just really, if you're a Georgia fan, it's just really disappointing because it's like this felt like the team, man. And that's the worst thing in sports is when it really feels like you have the team and they just go out there and just get sent home.
Yeah, for sure. It's an unfortunate end to the season. And so as someone who followed the team all year, I kind of later learned that I guess this team had like an attitude about them, like a brashness that I guess was rubbing people the wrong way. What did they do? Like why were they an enemy of college football or college baseball this year?
An enemy?
Like they were like a villain or so.
I think they hit. I mean, they hit a lot of bombs, and they weren't afraid to let you know that. Now, like, that's not to say that they were just pimping home runs left and right and just flipping the bat on everybody and everything. Like they weren't just punking people, but they definitely had a bit of an attitude, man. And
yeah,
it was I mean, I feel weird talking about it now, post mortem and the way that the season ended, but I mean, they really did a great job of going out in the portal, getting guys, Robbie Burnett, Rylan Zabrowski, Devin Obi. Like, they had so many just perfect moves in the offseason to construct this team. And just it's a shocking way to end the season, man, for sure. It was a fun team to watch, though. It sure was fun while it lasted, man.
Does being a villain have anything to do? I'm not trying to call out anyone out, but I guess I am. With the buttons, like 4 or 5 buttons unbuttoned. I saw at least 2 guys that are showing the whole. Yes,
I'm sure a lot of people really are bothered by that. I don't really care that much, honestly. I think most of those unwritten rules in baseball are just kind of. Half of them are kind of bogus. Half of them are kind of, I like them. But
yeah,
I'm not going to sit here and be like, they lost because they don't have any respect and they have their jerseys unbuttoned. Like, I don't care, dude. My favorite player in MLB is Ronald Acuna Jr. So I don't care at all about what these guys wear,
No, that's fair. And it's not like a respect thing I'm coming from. It's just like a aesthetic. I wasn't a fan personally.
That's something that I just feel like if you watch a lot more baseball than I do, so you're just people pick up on that stuff, I guess, better than I do, and I understand that.
I will say the Acuna stuff. I love Acuna rocking the yellow because it's like the Braves have that tiny bit of yellow, so you can kind of like spin it. It's like the Tennessee Titans players would rock like red gloves and stuff.
Bring that up. The red gloves, that I love those.
Yeah, it's like slightly one of your colors.
A good tertiary color that sneaks in there. Yeah.
Yeah, but the light blue, I can't get on board with Acuna rocking the light blue sleeve and the light blue guard. But Acuna can do what he wants. He's a baller.
Dude, I love Acuna's drip personally. I love all the chains he wears and the huge, sleeve plates, braces he wears. He's great baseball player aesthetic for me, man.
For sure. I'm not going to say a bad word about Acuna. And now he's got the knee guard now to go with the elbow guard and the shin guard. He's just decked out. It's funny. Speaking of the 20-4 the game on Friday, this is what I thought of. This is what came to my head. I got in a huge fight with my wife like a couple years ago. Not important. I'm sure it was nothing that was important at all. But it was the day that the Braves scored like 27 runs against the Marlins like a couple years ago. And so it was like, that was like one of the ways, that's like one of the things I do. I'm kind of like, hey, can I share a stat with you? I just talk sports and stuff. And I'm like, by the way, when we were fighting, the Braves just had like the greatest game of all time. Like it was, I remember that a couple years ago.
After all
I think what his name? Adam Duvall, I think had like 8 RBIs or something.
Yeah, no, he went crazy. Dude, that was like, because that was like the game where it was like, oh my God, the Braves are like the best offense of all time. Like,
but I just remembered that.
That's another insane baseball team that spent the entire season hitting just dingers, and then they just go out with a whimper in the playoffs. It's the darndest thing sometimes, man.
Yeah, that was 2023, I think, was the team that was so good.
That was a record-setting year for the Braves.
Yeah, that was disappointing. But disappointing baseball, unfortunately, is how we're gonna start this show. But we'll get back to football. Please, if you're tuning in live, I appreciate everyone watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. All that good stuff. Go to voiceofcollegefootball.com, vocfb.com, I should say.
Oh yeah.
Check out past episodes and things like that, and check out other teams too. You got to know your foes as well as your team. But sir, we are 88 days till the college football season, and as we're doing each day that we get to the countdown, we're gonna go with the best Georgia players to wear each number we get to. And I think this one's easy. I think it's probably easy for you as well. I would venture to say this guy could turn out to be the best player ever at Georgia. minus maybe Herschel Walker. I think Jalen Carter is that good, personally. I think Jalen Carter is like Aaron Donald.
Ever.
I think he's potentially Aaron Donald type good. Like we could be looking at a guy that's like a 5-6 time all pro or something like that. Like Jalen Carter is that good, that unblockable to me. He's the best 88 of all time.
I have an issue with you invoking the name of Aaron Donald, man. Aaron Donald is the best football player I've ever seen.
He is. I think he's the GOAT interior defensive lineman.
Yeah, he's the GOAT. He might. It's between him, Lawrence Taylor, Tom Brady, and Jerry Rice. I think those 4 guys are on the short list of best football player of all time. But I do.
I'll respect 3 of those 4. You said you're missing a huge one, in my opinion. Barry Sanders. I think Barry Sanders is on any list I have ahead of Tom Brady.
Oh, wait, I didn't bring him back. I used to have a Barry Sanders figurine on my desk. You just got to believe me that's there. No, I mean, I'm a huge Lions fan. I understand. I have Barry Sanders up there too, but I was just thinking in terms of like those 3, 4. What I named 4 guys. I think those are like 4. But yeah,
no, I respect all those. For sure, I respect that list.
Jalen Carter is an alien. I mean, what he's done at the pro level already speaks for itself. He's a Super Bowl champion in year 2, along with like 4 other guys on that defense.
Yeah.
Obviously, his legacy at Georgia is a little weird because of his actions in the tragic accident that led to the deaths of 2 people. But yes, on the football field, he not only is he one of the best, like just pure football players who's ever played at Georgia or in the SEC in general, but he's also produced some of the most picturesque moments in Georgia football history. When he sacked Jaden Daniels and held him up like he was a Grammy Award.
I have the T-shirt, sir. I have a T-shirt. He was a Barstool athlete, so I bought it.
Or his safety that should have been a safety against Tennessee. I thought that was another one of the major moments from that season, that undefeated championship season. So yeah, Jalen Carter, I'd say an easy pick for like the number 188. There's a couple other good 88s though.
Well, before we get to that, I would agree. I think that I'll never understand how that was not called a safety in that Tennessee game. But that play, I feel like really was one of the plays this season. Not only was that just the number 1 versus number 1 game, number 1 in the rankings versus number 1 in the AP poll, and so that was like the first huge play of that game was, him just being unblockable, just being Jalen Carter. But yeah, I don't know. It's just like there's a list that's building of like guys that I'm just not going to compare to past Georgia players. I think for most old heads, it's this running back's good. He's not Herschel Walker. For me, that list is basically Brock Bowers and Jalen Carter in recent years. Like I don't think we're ever going to see a guy who's as good as one of those. Maybe you could throw in Roquan Smith, but we might see another linebacker.
You definitely could throw in Roquan Smith on there.
Yeah, like Roquan Smith.
You're right.
Was just legit,
And most programs get one guy like that. Not even most. A few lucky programs get one guy like that for their entire existence. So the fact that Georgia has we're like, you could say this guy, like that says a lot.
Yeah, do we compare anyone to Champ Bailey? Like you probably throw in him too. As well.
I was gonna say when you said Jalen's the best player of ever, I almost said just Champ Bailey straight up. It's like that guy's also great.
Champ Bailey was my literal favorite player growing up. Champ Bailey and Charles Woodson were my guys. Obviously, Champ being the Georgia guy, but yeah, I don't know. It's just he was just so unblockable, just so athletic. Like I haven't seen many interior defensive linemen that are just that athletic. Like Jordan Davis is always like a freak. Like he's just I don't know. Like he's hard to describe because he's just so unique, but he didn't. It's hard to say he didn't make the same impact on the game because taking 2 or 3 guys to block him was just absurd. But just the way Jalen Carter would disrupt, but also make plays and actually be the guy to make the tackle, or usually Jordan Davis was doing his job if he was the guy getting in the way, Yeah,
and also one of the things I remember with Jalen Carter too is like just people talk about him like he was this like mythical figure. I mean that goes from when he committed to Georgia in first, but because he was behind such a insane defensive line rotation with 2 future first round picks in front of him and Devontae Wyatt and Jordan Davis. Like, he obviously, yes, was a heavy contributor to the team in 2021. But he was more of a rotational piece compared to what he would go on to do the year after that. And I just remember when Georgia lost those 2 guys to the draft, Davis and Wyatt, there were so many reporters and so many just people online chattering like, that number 88 kid is going to step in next year to the full-time starting job, and he's going to be better than either of them were. And sure enough, he was, and he gets drafted ahead of both of them even after his horrific off the field incident. So it's like there are some guys that are just like more talented than the guys who are more talented, and he's one of them for sure.
Yeah, I might not build a statue for him because of the the off the field stuff, but on the field, great all-time player. But yeah, it was I feel like I want to hype myself up. Back in 2022, I remember all the talk was about Will Anderson. Like, is he the best? Is he going to win the Heisman as a defensive player? Like, he was just, and I was always just thinking that whole offseason, like, Jalen Carter is every bit as good as Will Anderson. Like, they do different things, but this dude is a freak in his own right. And I think, it turned out that way. And who knows if the off the field thing doesn't happen where he actually gets drafted, maybe 2nd overall, maybe 3rd overall, maybe number 1. Yeah. I mean, who was that? Was that Bryce Young and CJ Stroud?
It was. So the Bears had the first pick that year. And I remember, like, during mock draft season, before the Bears traded the pick, but while they were still terrible, he was getting mocked to the Bears at 1.
Yeah.
And then obviously when the Bears traded the pick and the off the field thing and the thing with Willock and LaCroix happened, obviously it became obviously a quarterback's going number 1 and obviously Jalen Carter's not going number 2. But the fact that he still went top 10 after that, like he went top 10 in a draft where 2 quarterbacks went first 2 picks and he was like fighting a manslaughter case or whatever. And he still went like 9th. Like, what a player.
I shouldn't laugh. I don't want to downplay that. But.
No, I know. I don't either. I the way that I frame that makes it probably sound like I'm not. But like, it's just crazy that you can have that situation and still go top 10. He's a freak. He's from outer space.
Yeah, he was a great all-time player for Georgia. And like, he won't be remembered as like a great, like as one of the greatest Georgia players necessarily, because like you said, he was like rotational piece those first 2 years, even though like a true Georgia fan knew how big of a difference maker he was. One thing I knew he was going to be so good was that freshman year, early on too, he caught the touchdown pass. Like, they put him in at tight end.
Oh yeah, they used to put him at fullback. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I don't think Kirby does that with a true freshman, that like he doesn't know how good he already is at his current job. You know what I mean? You're not giving him extra stuff to do if you don't know that guy's not a baller.
Yeah, that's a good point, because they don't do that anymore. They don't.
No, they really don't. There was a couple of highlights. That Arkansas one was the one, right, where he drove like 2 or 3 guys out of the way. That guy was a monster.
Yeah, no, he could have just been Darnell Washington if he really wanted to.
If he wanted to. But who are your other honorable? Go ahead.
I have 2. I have 2 other 88s. I'll start with a guy who is more my time, and then I'll go with a guy who you might know a little bit more about than I do, but I know I have a basic knowledge of this man because he has a pretty important record actually for Georgia. But the first guy that I want to shout out, a guy that I remember watching, tight end, Arthur Lynch, Aaron Murray's security blanket. I always liked this guy a lot. When I was a kid, I have very fond memories of watching Georgia's tight end tandem of Arthur Lynch and Jay Rome take the field on Saturdays. Arthur Lynch was always, I feel like, a solid guy over the middle. He was a good security target for Aaron Murray. I think he got invited to a camp with the Dolphins after college. He might have even got drafted, but I don't think his NFL career really panned out. But he was always a really solid college tight end, and a great number 88. So I also 88 is just a great tight end number in general, so I just want to shout out.
Yeah, that's true. Yes. Off the top of my head, I don't think he got drafted, but oh man, that 2012 Alabama game, he had some huge catches on that drive, got him down inside the 10.
Through that, right?
Oh, he was the fake punt too. Yeah, that's right. That final drive is when I was talking about where we obviously came up 4 yards short and lost to Alabama. But yeah, Arthur Lynch was number 3 on my list.
He went in the 5th round of the draft.
Oh, he did? Okay. To Miami? Is that who drafted him?
Yes.
Okay. And then who's the other one you were going to say? I think you think I'm older than I really am, but we'll see.
The other one that I want to say, well, I don't know. I don't think you saw this guy play or anything, but you might know who he is if I mention him. But it's Bryce Hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bryce Hunter also wore number 88. He has the all-time Georgia football record for single-season receptions with 76.
Okay.
I think Eric Zier was the quarterback. It came in.
It's probably like 92, 93.
Let me see. 93. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. No one's really come close of that, close to breaking that. I think number 2 is Brock Bowers in 2022 with like 63. So
did Don Lovett have like a 60 catch season or something like that?
He might have. Actually, he probably kind of did, low key.
Or how did Arian Smith end up with last year? Let me see if I can pull up.
No chance.
I'm sure he didn't have that many, right?
It can't have been more like 65.
Oh, he had 48 catches.
I was gonna say
last year. Yeah, and I feel like AJ Green, like all 3 of his seasons were like the same. It was like 50, 55 catches. Even though he got suspended for the 4 games, he still had like a great junior year. Dominic Lovett had 59 catches last year. That's got to be up there.
It's pretty impressive to have a Georgia receiving record that either Brock Bowers or Terrence Edwards does not have. So I think Bryce Hunter deserves a lot of respect for that in itself.
Oh, yeah, Terrence Edwards. That's a good call. He's still Georgia's all-time leading receiver in terms of yards, right?
Oh, Bryce Hunter passed away. Rest in peace. Terrence Edwards has I think every single total all-time record.
Okay, yeah, and he had 59 catches his senior year for 1,000 yards. As we all know, the last receiver to get to 1,000 yards.
Someday it will happen.
One day. We're going on 23 years now since Georgia had a 1,000-yard receiver. But yeah, I remember what I remember about Bryce Hunter was him being on the cover of a program and just like having those programs sitting around when I was a kid, you know. Yeah. And so, I was 3 years old in 1993. So, I don't remember him specifically playing, but I remember how much everyone loved Bryce Hunter, and like Andre Hastings, I think was a little bit for him, like the great Georgia receivers of the early 90s. But yeah, and shout out to Jaden Hunter, Bryce Hunter's son, who was on the Georgia roster for a couple of years. The linebacker, he also rocked 88 because of his dad. I think where did he end up? Western Kentucky, I want to say. May have ended up multiple places, but
I actually had no idea that was his son.
Oh, really? Yeah, I think he was part of that. I want to say he was part of that, either the first Kirby class or the first good Kirby class with Fromm and Swift and those guys.
I didn't know that his dad was Bryce Hunter. Cool.
Yeah, that's why he rocked 88.
Yeah, rest in peace to Bryce Hunter, man.
Yeah, R.I.P. for sure. So let's keep it moving on the show here today. 88 days. I'm excited, sir. We're getting there. 7 days at a time. We're getting down this countdown. Until we play the Marshall Thundering Herd. And speaking of the Marshall Thundering Herd, we've got some kickoff times announced for the Georgia football season. So basically half of Georgia's games are kicking off at 3:30. We know that right off the bat. So Marshall in the opener, Austin Peay in the second game, at Tennessee in the third game, and then Florida as always, and then Georgia Tech on Black Friday in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. All of those are going to be 3:30 games. So what are your thoughts about that? You got any thoughts?
Yeah, nothing crazy. I like that Marshall and Austin Peay were announced as 3:30 games, mostly just because they weren't announced as noon games. I probably would have liked to have seen at least one of those be a 7:00 game because those are just fun games. But 3:30 is a great time slot, and I will never have any problems with anything being at any college football game at 3:30, really. So I have no problem with that. Florida, always love to see that. If that game is ever not played at 3:30, we're gonna have problems. Tennessee, also kind of the same thing. And then Georgia Tech, like it's been fun these last couple of years having that game at 7:00. But I mean, this is the lamest answer ever. I'm pretty much saying I'm fine with everything, but yeah, I love the 3:30 time slot. I got kind of sad when they moved that away from like the prime time slot because of the new TV deal. I always liked that being the best game of the week instead of at 7 for some reason. But yeah, I have no problem with this. It means that we have a less confirmed noon games, which I think is always a good thing because noon games are trash.
For sure. And it's the fact that two of these terrible opponents are at 3:30, with all due respect to Marshall and the Governors, I believe. Is that Austin Peay's mascot?
Sounds right. We played them we played them like a decade ago, I think.
Yeah, we definitely played them at some point, not too long ago. But yeah, I think is 3:30. Is that the ideal kickoff time? Is that for you?
I think for me it kind of is. Now, I like to mix it up every now and then with a good 7:30 game, but
yeah.
I don't know. Like, in theory, you would say that the best game should always be at night, but I just think the way my brain is wired growing up an SEC on CBS fan, I'm just always used to that game that I've been looking forward to all week being at 3:30. So I don't know.
That's true.
I like it. I like 3:30. Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you go to the game, it's like just to have that much of the day left after you leave the stadium is always nice.
Exactly.
Like you go to a 8:00 game, like you're getting home at like midnight, 1:00 in the morning or something, which can be tough. But yeah, I personally hate these cupcake games being at night because like I just don't want to wait around all day to watch Austin Peay.
Yeah.
And then also if I'm watching Austin Peay, I'm probably missing whatever the best college football game is that day because I'm watching Georgia play because that's where my priorities are.
Yeah, especially with the new TV deal, because now all of the best games are at night instead of at 3:30.
Yeah, it seems like, and I know I've already seen Tennessee fans are salty that Georgia Tennessee is at 3:30. I saw I think it was John Tweet Sports. I don't know, I'm not 100% sure it was him, but it was just like the Tennessee excuses year by year, like it rained in 2022, right?
And then, it was at 7.
Yeah, that's what it's gonna be. Oh, if this is a night game, nothing compares to kneeling at night, so that's gonna be the reason they lose in 2025. Hopefully the reason they lose, knock on wood here. But yeah, so the fact that that's just part of a great like triple header. What's the first one is Alabama, Wisconsin isn't great, but Alabama, Wisconsin in the noon slot, then Georgia, Tennessee, and then LSU, Florida.
LSU, Florida's that week too.
Yeah, that's the ABC triple header that day.
See, that's now Georgia, Tennessee might end up being a better. Actually, no, I'd rather watch that at night because LSU, Florida.
Yeah, Death Valley at night.
That sounds weak. See that I would rather see that. I just rather would. Now, obviously, that's also because it would be a game where I have no real rooting interest, and I can just kind of sit back and watch it. But yeah, that game should be at night.
Yeah, for sure. And we're not going to dig in. We're not going to dig into the like TV ratings and ads and networks and stuff like that. But I want to know how much money CBS loses over this next decade or something from ad revenue or whatever it is. Because I don't have it in front of me. But man, the CBS schedule for those first few weeks is just awful. They have like Purdue and USC and just. I can't even remember all the games. It's embarrassing. You're looking at like you really don't even have to change the channel with ABC. If you're getting like the three best SEC games of the day at noon, 3:30 and 7:30, like also go ahead.
Oh no, sorry, you go ahead.
Just as a side note, something is very different about 7:30 versus 8:00 kickoffs to me. I'm a huge fan of the 7:30 kickoff. 8:00, I feel like I'm waiting too late, but something about 7:30 makes it a little bit better.
8:00 feels like it's the NFL. Like I always associate 7:30 with college.
Maybe that's what it is.
NFL kicks off at like 8:20 on Sunday nights. That seems like such a corporate buttoned up time compared to like 7:30. Just seems so much more like I'm basing this off nothing but like vibes. But I also agree with you. It just seems so much. That switch from 7 to 8 is something.
It's definitely a vibes conversation. It's definitely a vibes conversation for sure. I feel like when it's at 7:30, there's almost just no like lull time from the 3:30
Yeah.
game ending to 7:30. It's
Oh,
almost immediate.
that's the best part. I like
Yeah.
that. I mean, there's God. There's nothing better than football Saturday and then football Sunday because it's just the second one game ends, another one starts, especially during college football because there's 200 teams playing at once.
Absolutely.
Just talking about this, man, just makes me. I wish we could fast forward these next 88 days, man.
Absolutely, man. I feel like now the game is starting to seem real. Once we got some game times, it's starting to seem real. And this is kind of the one. I mean, obviously, you can have your opinion on like if SEC should be on CBS or ABC or if it should be on different networks or whatever. But it's kind of the one benefit of it all being on ABC, Disney, whatever, ESPN. Is that they have all of the inventory, and so they don't have to wait for CBS to kind of pick whatever the game they want, and then they determine the game times. We know weeks in advance what time all these games are. Right now, months in advance.
Yeah, that was always a thing though, having to pay attention every week to be like, what's the CBS game? Because they don't have to do that anymore. I forget that whole dichotomy has just been kind of eliminated.
Yeah, and it's still like a thing, like in terms of a few weeks in advance. But like, I mean, I'm like logging on to secsports.com at like noon every Monday to be like, okay, they announced the game times yet for following week with that 6-day option or whatever they'll do. But yeah, so you don't have to worry about that anymore. So
very nice.
But moving on here, sir. Let's talk SEC quarterback. So I've seen a lot of SEC quarterback rankings coming out, and I've seen a lot of talk about Gunnar Stockton. Oh, also Jackson Johnson watching the show. What's up, Bulldog Nation? Jackson, appreciate you chiming in, man. Go Dogs. But talking about the SEC quarterback rankings, so I should have made a graphic or something we could put on the list here for our listeners, but we don't have it. So going off, there's a few different lists out there, but basically I haven't seen Gunnar Stockton higher than like 10 on like any list I see. It's somewhere he's in like that 10 to 12 range. And so this list right here is on 24/7. Brad Crawford from 24/7 came up with this one.
It's a good writer.
And they have Gunnar at 12 in the SEC. Only Bo Pribula, Joey Aguilar, Blake Shapen, and Zach Calzada are lower than Gunnar Stockton. And might as well go down the whole list. Marcel Reed at 11, Ty Simpson at 10, Jackson Arnold 9, Taylon Green 8, Austin Simmons 7, Diego Pavia 6, John Mateer 5, Lagway 4th, Sellers 3, Arch Manning 2, and then Garrett Nussmeier number 1. I don't hate on most of this list.
Yeah.
Like I've seen Arch at number 1. Like that's where I was ready to like just be kind of outraged. Just the amount of hype Arch is getting. Like I saw a list of those mock drafts they'll do of like if anyone was eligible this past NFL draft, like underclassmen and everything. Some lists had Arch going 1 and Lagway going 2. Did you see that list?
I think I saw the same thing. Yeah, where it's like if anyone could declare, Arch would go number 1, and he's like started one game.
Yeah, and it's just like I'm not here to. I don't think who is ahead of you means like what you're capable of. Yeah. Like the fact that like the Jake Fromm Justin Fields thing is always going to be like a conversation in Georgia circles. The fact that he was a 5th rounder doesn't just automatically mean Georgia made the wrong decision because Justin Fields turned out to be a 1st rounder. Like granted, I think if Fields stays, he probably eventually beats out Fromm. I'm not sure. We're not going to get into that whole conversation right now. But the fact that, and I think Quinn Ewers is underrated. I'll start this conversation by saying I think Quinn Ewers is underrated.
What?
This dude was a 7th round pick.
Yes,
people talk about him like he's trash. You think Quinn Ewers
is trash?
Quinn Ewers is trash?
I went full Stephen Smith there, and I fully apologize.
Hey, say it with your chest, man. I'm here for it.
Let me collect myself for a moment. I'm so glad that I've been afforded this opportunity to do my Quinn Ewers rant, which I will keep to a minimum. Dude, Quinn Ewers, it held Texas back so much last year. Like, he holds on the ball so long. He's short. He doesn't have size. He doesn't have a very strong arm. He doesn't stay healthy. I just feel like people got really hung up on his performance against Alabama in his first, second, third game as Texas starter, and they looked at that version of him and they said, "That's the guy. That's Quinn Ewers." He never played like that ever again. He doesn't.
Well,
He never.
hold
He never
on
had the
now.
physical. He never had the physical tools. He would hold the ball too long. He made poor decisions. You saw when Georgia played them in the SEC championship, the amount of just easy throws that he missed and the amount of gifts that Georgia's
That's
defense
fair.
got in that game. I just don't think he's a very good player. I mean, the number one thing that I remember, the thing that stands out to me the most about doing my media availability in the Texas game, and I know I sound so, I feel bad about just yelling Quinn Ewers is trash because he's not trash. He's
Hey, say what you feel, man. You speak your truth.
He's way better at football than I will ever be at just about anything.
Of course.
But the thing that I remember about that Texas game was somebody asked Kirby Smart a question about, like, y'all had 7 sacks. Like, how are y'all able to do that? It was something to that effect. And the question was very loaded with, like, how were you able to do this? How was your team able to make these plays happen? And Kirby Smart basically went, he's like, well, the biggest and this is
this SEC championship?
This is
game?
October. This is
Okay.
the regular season. Yeah, sorry, I should have cleared that up. And Kirby's response was basically like, he just held the ball too long. Like, his main thing was, like, a big reason was because he held the ball forever. And, like, if you go back and you watch that game, it's like, yeah. So I really think all of this to say, because I want there to be some kind of purpose for me just ragging on Quinn Ewers. That's kind of why I'm buying into the Arch hype, because I think a guy who clearly, like, we on the field have seen Arch Manning's physical tools are off the charts, and they're much better than Ewers in terms of his arm strength, his capabilities as a runner, and just his instincts in the pocket also. Like, plus he has the Manning pedigree, plus he's been in Sarkisian system for 3 years. Like, again, I know this is all projections, and this is all if this happens, if this works out. But, like, dude, Arch, I'm not ready to put him at number 1 in the SEC either, and I'm not ready to say he'd be the number 1 pick. But, like, the Arch propaganda is working on me.
Well, let's put it this way. Well, first of all, he's not Eli or Peyton's seed, all right? So he's the other brothers.
Yeah, that's why, but that's where the mobility comes from. Because
is that what it is?
His daddy played wide receiver, and also remember his dad was really good and he was committed to Ole Miss, but he had to stop playing football because he had a really rare spinal condition. But Cooper Manning was a really good athlete as well. It wasn't like he was just a bum and play ball.
So I accept everything you said there. I will say, in terms of your timeline, that first year was the year where he played well versus Alabama, but he got hurt, and then they almost beat Alabama anyway. His second year starting was when he dealt against them in Tuscaloosa. They won by multiple scores.
Okay.
He also balled out on Michigan at Michigan.
So he was balling against them both years. My mistake.
Yeah, the first year it was like he got hurt first quarter or something.
I will maintain that he never looked better ever than he did against Alabama.
Yeah, I think that's the in Tuscaloosa, that game.
Both games.
Yeah. I think he balled out on Michigan last year, that early game in the Big House.
Michigan turned out to be garbage.
They were a good defense though, right? Like they had defensive
they won
players.
6 games.
No, that's fair. I'm not
Yes,
not building a statue for you.
They had Mason Graham and Will Johnson. Absolutely, they did.
For sure. And he threw 31 touchdowns last year, did throw 12 picks. But I think, for one, it sucks how these guys get kind of judged based on their high school ranking. I think Quinn Ewers is without a doubt a victim of this. Like, he was the highest ranked recruit ever, like literally ever.
That's nuts.
And he was not the greatest recruit by any means, but I think he's better than a 7th round pick.
He also has a lot of injuries that have really piled up, which I think have no doubt contributed to that. I think he would have definitely gone higher than the 7th round if he was healthy this year. He probably would have gone in the 4th or 5th, but I think there's just a lot of things that kind of add up to why he went that low. And also to why, like, man, Arch can really be able there's so much room for improvement for Texas's quarterback play next year. I'm telling you.
But for everything we've talked about, don't you think Steve Sarkisian is like one of the best offensive minds in all of college football?
Yes, absolutely, I do.
And everything you're saying about Quinn Ewers, that how terrible he is, Arch Manning wasn't able to beat that guy out. Is that not alarming at all?
No, I don't think it is. because I think Quinn Ewers just had an insane amount of experience last year. Like I remember even entering last season, I remember a lot of the conversation, and I'm sure if you're a Texas fan, you could just sit here and be like, no, that wasn't that wasn't true at all. But what I remember hearing was like, yeah, out of camp, I think people already know Arch has some insane physical talent, and he's probably raw. He's probably a better raw athlete than Ewers. But because it's 2024 and we have this super team, we have this insanely stacked roster, we have to go with the most experienced guy and the guy who, we can really trust to be in those, late game situations. And that was Ewers, like not because they viewed Ewers as some, I think, insane alpha dog who could carry them, but he was a good college quarterback. And I just don't think Arch was really ready last year, the same way Arch was for a team that was like trying to make a natty run.
Yeah,
I don't
maybe
think
he's in a second year as a college football player. So the fact that he was in his second year and he still wasn't ready to take that job, I don't know. And we saw a start versus Mississippi
Ewers
State.
was in his fifth year.
I don't think he was that long, but no, he was for
yes,
sure.
He was. Ewers was in college for a long time.
I think he was a 3-year, like a 3-year, and that fourth year was at Ohio State, right? Like the first year was at Ohio State, and he was a 3-year starter at Texas. I think that's what. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was.
Okay, yeah. He's actually younger than I am, so. Okay, yeah, he was 4 years, but like, I don't know.
But like when they put him in the game against Georgia, like I think most Georgia fans just with the backup quarterback thing, we started to get worried. But like he looked significantly worse, I would say, in his like 2 or 3 series versus Georgia, and like it says something that Sarkisian was willing to bench Ewers at that point, and maybe he was just kind of giving him a break because Ewers played significantly better in the second half of that game. Maybe just Georgia was in his head or something.
I think it's splitting hairs because they were both awful in that game.
That's fair. Georgia even showed up in Austin, Texas that week for sure. But like I don't like Nussmeier feels like the classic kind of quarterback that gets drafted top 10 that there's a lot of people who think he's not even good. You know what I mean? That he's got all the tools.
Nussmeier
what are your thoughts on Nussmeier?
My thoughts on Nussmeier are that he is the most entertaining guy one of the most entertaining quarterbacks I've ever seen, because I don't know if there's a quarterback with just more stones on him in the SEC than that guy, because he will try anything. Like you watch, every time I watch Garrett Nussmeier, I'm just either like, oh my God, yes, that's sick. Or I'm just like, dude, what are you doing? Like, what was that? And I don't know. I mean, he's definitely got a wild streak when he plays, but like, do you remember when he came in for Jaden Daniels in the SEC championship against Georgia? Some of the throws he made?
Oh yeah, he put up some numbers once he came in the game that second half.
He's really good, man. And I mean, he's definitely a bit of a wild child in the pocket with some of the decisions he makes, either bailing too early or just biting off more than he can chew and throwing it in the double coverage or whatever. But I also feel like he can do things that no other quarterback in the SEC really can. I really like Garrett Nussmeier. I just think he's just the classic gunslinger, and I love players like that.
Yeah, I think he's got some of that, like some of those intangibles you want from your quarterback too, like that team respects. Like every game is over. He looks like he's played 2 or 3 games at the end of every game. Like he's beaten up.
He's the son of a coach. He's grown up in this. This has been his life since he was a child.
For sure. But then go down the list, like I think Lenore Sellers, like I think he's kind of gonna be the guy that's like the college. I think Lenore Sellers is a playmaker. I honestly think Lenore Sellers' floor is higher than the rest of this top 5.
Wait,
to be
what's
honest.
his lore?
His floor, like his
floor. I thought you were talking about his
floor.
I agree. I think
because I think you know what you're getting, and these guys are dynamic athletes. Like at the college level, like they make plays. I think Lenore Sellers. Not guaranteeing South Carolina's good, like as good as they were last year, this year. Like who knows? They have like one of the widest range of outcomes. Like they could win 6 games, they could win 10 games. Like I really have no idea. But I put Lenore. I like Lenore Sellers up there.
Oh, I really like Lenore Sellers. Before to prepare, I made like just a little like tier list, I thought, of SEC quarterbacks, and like the floor that I had in like just top breakout guys. The three that I felt good about were DJ Lagway, Lenora Sellers, and Garrett Nussmeier. And then I also put Arch Manning in there, but it's all based on projection.
Yeah.
But I agree.
See,
I think I agree with you in that. I think Lenora Sellers' rushing ability gives him the highest floor of any quarterback in the SEC because it's like he is just a crazy athlete. I think if any quarterback in the SEC is going to win the Heisman next year, it's me him.
oh wow, that's bold.
I think that.
I don't know if South Carolina wins enough games for him to win a Heisman, though, is the only thing. He'll have to put up some huge numbers. But you said Lagway. Like, you have Lagway in that first tier. To me, DJ Lagway feels like this year's Nico Iamaleava. Like, I feel like we're forcing this. Like, but dude, Lagway was good last year. Lagway threw 12 touchdowns and 9 picks last year. Are you aware of that? Like, I'm sorry, I'm not putting this guy in the Heisman conversation.
I know,
go ahead.
But I don't want to be a box score watcher with Lagway because, I mean, he's got crazy athletic ability. He's got a cannon. I mean, he just looks the part, man. Like this is coming from somebody. I mean, you and I. It's really hard for me to say good things about Florida players. So when I do, like, I really mean it. And DJ Lagway is really good, man. And I was having a fun time watching him against Georgia's defense last year, and it kind of bummed me out when he got injured. It's going to be fun to watch him in that game, man. I think dude, behind Arch Manning, he might have the second highest ceiling of anybody in the SEC.
See, I think ceiling, there's definitely a conversation to be had that he has got the highest ceiling in the SEC, but it's like, it just, and I will say, I go to this a lot. Matthew Stafford threw 7 touchdowns and 13 picks as a freshman. Like, but you could see some of the skill. So obviously you can take a huge step from what you are as a true freshman. But Lagway, I feel like we're doing the same thing we did to Nico Iamaleava last year. Like, who is it? I think Tom Fornelli was like, Nico's the best quarterback in college football. Like, he said that like with his whole chest, like, to start last year. And he was even like, Caleb Williams, I said, was the best quarterback in the country before he was starting a game at Oklahoma. It's like, okay, well, if you said that, also you were wrong.
Caleb Williams was the best quarterback in the country.
Not when he was playing at Oklahoma. As a true freshman, he was the best quarterback in the country. No, I mean, he had the upside. He was really good. We have to not confuse upside for how good a guy currently is. Like, if you thought Caleb Williams was the best quarterback in college football,
did he not wind up being exactly right about Caleb Williams? Caleb Williams he won the Heisman.
No, but his point was in 2020 at Oklahoma, Caleb Williams was the best quarterback in college football.
What did he say about Lagway?
He wouldn't say Lagway. He said about Nico last year. He said Nico was the best quarterback in college football.
Well, Lagway. And also, let's not act like obviously Nico was not the best quarterback in college football last year, but we shouldn't act like he wasn't good. He was good. Mostly.
I disagree. I think Nico was a below average SEC quarterback last year. I think he was bottom 8 of the conference. And like, you go look at Nico's numbers, like the actual games they played against good competition.
I've seen his advanced numbers too, but
I think he threw like in SEC play. I think Nico was like 8 touchdowns and like 8 picks or something. It was like very mediocre. All his numbers were against weak competition.
Okay, but back to Lagway though, man.
But we'll go to Lagway. Yeah,
I really don't think this is that, man. I really think if you want to look like his touchdown interception ratio is not great, but I don't care. I mean, there's so much like Justin Herbert in him. Like, just like the upper body strength and the arm and the way
he slings it. I can see that.
Like, he can just force it in there, man. And like, I mean, he's the most talented. I never got to see Tim Tebow really. I was in diapers when Tim Tebow was doing his thing. So this is like the most.
Oh man, make me feel old.
I was gonna say most physically gifted quarterback I've ever seen from Florida, but then I remembered Anthony Richardson exists, so it's definitely not that. But yeah, Florida, Georgia might not be such a bad game next year if Lagway can stay in it, because I really think that guy is really good.
Don't get me started on another tangent with Anthony Richardson, a guy who went 5th 4th overall who wasn't even a good college player. Like, we don't even have to get into that.
We better not start talking about anything Richardson.
But you just look at the games on the stretch. Like LSU, big win for them down the stretch. Lagway was 13 of 16 for 226 yards. The Ole Miss was by far their biggest win of the season. 10 of 17.
You just said that like
for 180 yards.
You just said that like that was some bad stat line. 13 of 20, 13 of 16?
13 of 26.
Oh, 26.
Yeah, 13 of 26, like 50% throwing for 200 yards, like a touchdown and no picks. Like, yeah, that's fine.
Dude, he had some big throws in that game.
I don't know which game it was, but that one game where he's getting hit and threw like a sidearm, like I feel like the defensive lineman had his arms wrapped around him and he went through like a sidearm, like 20, 30-yard throw to the sideline, just dropped a dime. It was one of the most impressive throws I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like Lagway's got the talent. It just feels like we've talked about the was it the 2023 class? Whichever one Jackson Arnold was in. Is that the Nico and Jackson Arnold class? There's like 5 or 6 5-stars
in the SEC now.
Yeah, there's like 5 or 6 5-stars in that class, and none of them are good. So it's like we've seen plenty of years that the 5-star quarterbacks don't pan out, but it's like everyone convinces themselves every year, like, oh, this dude was a 5-star. He's gonna be the guy this year. And I think 2025 Lagway is 2024 Nico, in my opinion.
Time will tell, man. I guess time will tell.
But let's stick to let's bring it all back because we're going on everybody. That and then John Mateer, I think, is that one everyone's kind of sleeping on. It wouldn't surprise me if he was the best quarterback in the whole conference, right? And he's proven it probably more than almost everyone on this list, at least against what the competition Washington State played last year.
What was Washington State in the Pac-12?
It was the Pac-2. It was the Pac-2 last year, but yeah.
Yeah, he might be crazy, man. I don't really know that much about Oklahoma's like who they have as their pass catchers or anything, but I mean, I know John Mateer has been getting a lot of hype for quite some time, and he filled it up at Wazoo, so you never know, man. I mean, he what did he run Jackson Arnold out of Oklahoma, or did Jackson Arnold transfer first?
I don't know. I don't know
I would imagine Arnold transferred first, but still.
Probably.
And also, and I don't know. I mean, Jackson Arnold has been getting a lot of hype as well, man. At least from my friends that are Auburn fans, I keep hearing about how he's the truth, which is also what I heard from Oklahoma fans like 3 years ago. But still,
5-star quarterback, man. People don't ever forget. They don't ever give up on him.
It's weird, like in my tier, I made this like little tier list here, and like I already told you like the top tier that I had, but then it's like I have like proven starters who could make a huge leap up, and that's like Marcel Reed, Taylor Green, and Diego Pavia. And then it's like there's so many guys that are just like transfers who are like, you could be good, but we have no idea, because we have no idea like if the Pac-2 can at all translate to whatever this new iteration of the SEC is. You know?
Yeah, but I think that's fair. I like putting those three together: Taylor Green, Marcel Reed, and Diego Pavia. Those seem like all solid players that have a ceiling. You know, that's just they're probably not going to be elite or anything, but they're dynamic playmakers. I kind of respect. I can like understand guys like that just being a little more proven than a gunner being ahead of him. But Ty Simpson, like to have a guy like Ty Simpson ahead of Gunner doesn't make any sense to me. Like he could be better than Gunner this year, but certain guys on this list, I don't know. I guess do you have a tier of just everyone who is clearly better than Gunner? Like how many guys did you say are obviously better than Gunner?
Here's the tier. The tier that I have. The tier. Okay, so the tier I have of two guys that are new starters, but I think are better than Gunner right now. I have John Mateer and Jackson Arnold, just because those guys have done more. They're more proven guys. There's just more of a body of work there that I feel like whatever you think about whatever you think about John Mateer, Jackson Arnold, or Gunner Stockton, whatever your opinion is of those first two guys, you feel way more firm in it than you do in your opinion of Gunner Stockton, if that makes sense. So I feel like
I almost put Jackson Arnold and Gunnar on the same tier in terms of how
You
proven
could.
they are. Like he had a whole season, but he got benched how many times last year? Like at
But
least a couple.
I just mean, but like pure quantity. And I know Gunnar played a playoff game and started it, but I think there's more there with. But you might be right. Maybe there isn't enough from Jackson Arnold to put him over there immediately. But so the tier that I had Gunnar in, I just titled it in my notes app, could be good, but need to see more. And the other guys I have on that list, in addition to Gunnar Stockton, are Bo Prabula of Missouri, Ty Simpson at Alabama, and then Austin Simmons at Ole Miss.
I think of the guys who have never started, I think Austin Simmons, is clearly my number one.
Oh, yeah.
Like maybe I'm just shell shocked from that one drive he had against Georgia.
Bro,
but
no, because he came in and he was wearing number 13 and he was left-handed and I had never seen him before. So immediately I was like, oh my God, they have a fucking Tua clone at quarterback. Like, oh my God.
Man. But yeah, so it's like there's this weird thing about Tennessee and Heupel that it's like, well, Nico was whatever, but like you can just plug anyone in Heupel's system, they're gonna ball out. It's like, well, Nico didn't ball out last year. Joe Milton didn't ball out the year before. So like 2 of the 4 years, Tennessee has gotten below average quarterback play in the SEC. Yeah. I'm not ready to just give Aguilar that benefit of the doubt. Whereas Austin Simmons, like I kind of am ready to just give the Ole Miss quarterback that benefit of the doubt. Like I was never a Matt Corral fan, but Lane Kiffin got everything you could possibly get out of Matt Corral. I think there's a lot of juice and stats for inferior teams in Matt Corral's career. We don't get off on that tangent, but if I'm looking at this right now, like you kind of had your tiers, I kind of feel like Nussmeier, Stellers, and Mateer is like the tier of like actual proven quarterbacks, and everyone after that is like kind of upside.
I just think it's different when you prove yourself in the SEC versus when you prove I know this is just conference elitism is all it is, but I think Mateer hasn't had the same level of proving himself just because he hasn't done it in this conference yet. So I can't put him in that tier yet.
What do you have, like 800 yards rushing or something last year?
Yeah, which again, I'm not to say I don't think John Mateer will be good, because I sure as heck do, but I just right now at my June 3rd rankings. And then but yeah, the 3 that I had in just like the not great category are Zach Calzada, even though he beat Alabama that one time. Joey Aguilar, not
Sugar
because
Hill, Georgia also.
Yeah, he did. Not because I don't think Joey Aguilar is like bad or anything, but I just like you can't he transferred to Tennessee in what, like mid-April?
Yeah, it was. I mean, after Nico, that whole situation happened.
The timing of that just seems kind of impossible to be able to really fully integrate yourself into the scheme and everything. So it just feels like Tennessee is going to have kind of a lost year this year. And then finally, I have Blake Shapen from Mississippi State, who actually was playing pretty well before he got hurt last year, but it's a Mississippi State quarterback that's not named Rain Dakota Prescott. So I really just I'm not inspired, really.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think the bottom of the conference is I think that's pretty established. It's like Gunnar. I wouldn't put him ahead of any of those 3, like I said, are like the most proven. And obviously I'm probably not putting him ahead of Arch or Lagway either. But like he legit could be like the 4th, 5th best quarterback in the SEC, or he could be the 12th best quarterback in the SEC. And I feel like I really don't know. And I kind of wonder, like, how good does like, where does Gunnar have to be on this list postseason for Georgia to win the SEC and win the national championship? Does he have to be top 5?
No, I don't think he does. I think he just has to be consistent. I think he just has to not be as erratic as Carson Beck was for long stretches of the season last year. Like, obviously, like if you're playing in a Mike Bobo scheme, like you're going to be asked to do things and you're going to be asked to, step up and really make plays when it counts. But like, you're not going to, Georgia's never been a scheme where they really ask the quarterback to carry the team or anything. So I don't think Gunnar Stockton has to be the best quarterback in the SEC or anything for Georgia to win it, but he just has to be more reliable on a week-to-week basis than Carson Beck was, and I think that would be a good start for Georgia. You just have to you have to know what to expect to some degree every week. You have to know to expect something good every week. Carson Beck, it's like, God, this guy's either going to throw 3 touchdowns or 3 picks,
or both. I think you made the game with both. My biggest thing about Gunnar, honestly, how likely do you think it is that Gunnar is more consistent than Carson Beck was? Because like Carson Beck, he threw a lot of interceptions, but like he threw what, like 9 interceptions in like a 3-week period. After like week 5 or 6, there weren't nearly as many turnovers.
I think the 2 reasons that you can believe that he'll be more consistent than Carson Beck are, one, hopefully just because Georgia upgraded its wide receiver core a substantial bit. Hopefully Zachariah Branch and Noah Thomas end up being, plus additions to this team. Maybe even some of the freshmen become contributors. Maybe London Humphreys or somebody has a breakout, or CJ Wiley or somebody. So you have that. Hopefully you just have more reliable receivers, which more reliable receivers always equals more reliable quarterback usually, right? And then also I think this is kind of more wishy-washy. But I was really taken aback by the way that Gunner's teammates talked about him this spring. I forget who it was who said this. I think it was Noah Thomas who said it, actually. It was either Noah Thomas. It was one of the wide receivers. It might have been someone who's been there for longer, like a Jacoby White or somebody, but I want to say it was Noah Thomas, who was like, he said verbatim, Gunner is one of the best people I've ever met. Which I just remember hearing that and being like, wow, like you're going to say that about one of your football teammates, someone who's like, not a family member, not your best friend or anything. And like, someone who you kind of just met, assuming that was Noah Thomas who said it. And I just remember like
family members texting him like, what the fuck, man? You just met this guy.
No, but like, I just remember people weren't saying that about a guy like Beck. And I don't mean to like dogpile on Beck, but I do think there's something to be said for that team element of like, if your teammates are really, 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 really willing to go to war for you and they love you that much, like, I think that kind of has an effect on the whole team. And maybe this is some, remember the Titans mumbo jumbo that I'm spitting, but I really think there's a different dynamic in the locker room this year than there was last year with Carson Beck in there. I just don't think Beck was as revered by the rest of the locker room as maybe Stockton is, but also I wasn't there, so I don't know. But
I think all of that is fair, but it feels like kind of as a fan base, we're going too far the other way, in my opinion, because like Carson Beck, like as disappointing as he was last year, like dude still threw 28 touchdowns and 12 picks, completed 65% of his passes, completed 65% of his passes with his team leading the country in drops. Like that guy probably completes 70% of his passes. Cause I mean, who knows what it does to the drive where it ended on a 3rd and 5 because the guy dropped a first down. Yeah. I feel like the vibes are so different. Everyone's convincing themselves that all the other things are going to be better, but it's like, it doesn't mean he's a better football player, even if the team likes him better. I think he probably, like you say, he doesn't have to be top 5 quarterback in the SEC for Georgia to still win the conference and win the national championship potentially, because I think the receivers have to be so much better and the running game has to be a lot better. My biggest concern with Gunnar Stockton is outside of the Ole Miss game. That's probably the other game that was equally as disappointing offensively. But next to the Ole Miss game, the Notre Dame game was the worst offensive performance of the entire season. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like maybe that's not all on Gunnar, but the fact that Gunnar, it was 10 for like -23 against Notre Dame on the ground. Yeah. I think he's sacked 4 times. So I don't know what the actual sack numbers were and what his actual rushing attempts were. But I was banking on Gunnar Stockton coming in, and now the running element is a part of Georgia's offense from the quarterback position again. So the fact that we didn't see basically any of that against Notre Dame, that's kind of what worries me the most, because I don't really know what to expect from Gunnar. Like if I knew we were getting, I don't know, Connor Shaw. Like, that's not a great example. Just the first kind of mediocre
Connor Shaw was
off the run. They got run first kind of quarterback.
Yeah,
like, I think if we knew we were getting Connor Shaw out of Gunnar Stockton, I'd be like, I think we can kind of build something around that. I don't know that we're actually getting that kind of runner. So, he had close to, and I think I've seen the stat that he had more yards or like better completion and better, more yards against Notre Dame than Will Howard or what's his name for Penn State, or than Drew Allard had. So, maybe that's it. Maybe Notre Dame is facing the best pass defense in the country in his first start in his career. And, it's a tough situation. But I don't know. If I would have seen more from Gunner's legs, I would feel more confident that, like, I know what this offense is going to be. But without seeing that running element, I really don't know where Gunner's going to rank on this list.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Because that was, I think, a big thing people were talking about going into the game. Is like, oh, like, Gunnar Stockton has the running element that Carson Beck doesn't have, and we didn't really see that. But maybe some of that was, just you're going up against a Notre Dame team that has a ridiculous defense and probably the best secondary in the country, and they had a huge injury up front with Riley Mills being out anyway. But I don't know. It's like you don't want to base your perceptions of Gunnar Stockton all on one game, his first ever start against the best defense in the country. But you also don't want to just completely ignore it. You also just want to be like, it doesn't count because it was hard circumstances. It's like, I don't know. I think
the second half versus Texas was a solid performance too.
Yeah,
run into a game too.
He did some good things in that game, and I thought he gave them some real fire against Texas too, even though he threw a pretty bad pick at the end. But, Gunnar Stockton is really a guy that, like, I just don't think I'm gonna have a firm opinion on until I see him start like 3 or 4 games, because it's weird. I mean, we just don't know about this guy. We really don't. We haven't seen him play that much. We know he's been in the system for what, 4 off seasons now. We know he knows the offense, but that's about all we know.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Gunnar, this is one of the more difficult first 3 or 4 games of a season for Georgia coming up this year, with Tennessee, the 3rd game, and then the bye week before Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. So I think we're going to know a lot about Gunnar after 4 games, but I'm just I think there's reason for concern. I think some Georgia fans see Gunnar on a list where he's 12th in the SEC, and they're like, oh, we're just getting disrespected over here.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I'm over here kind of equally like, hey, I don't know what to expect. So I think I will say this. I think kind of persona wise, off the field and tangible wise, he is the exact opposite of Carson Beck. It kind of seems like, and I think all Georgia fans see that and they're like, oh, that's great. We need the exact opposite.
Exactly.
But don't get it twisted. Carson Beck is the reason Georgia got to the SEC championship last year. Like, awful running game, awful receiving play. Gunnar Stockton or Carson Beck was the one constant on Georgia's team all year. Even the defense, like, this is the first year ever, I think. I tried to go back a while. I went back to the 90s. I was in an Instagram argument with somebody about Georgia's running game. I couldn't go back far enough to find a year where Georgia's opponents outrushed them for a season. And they didn't do it last year, but it was like 124 point something to 124 point something. Like, dang. We are not used to that as Georgia fans, where the opponent had as equally of good of a run game as Georgia's offense. And for Carson Beck to still have that team in the SEC championship, it's kind of unheard of. So I feel like Carson Beck, say what you want about him, I feel like he still doesn't get enough credit for how good he actually was. For one, he was great in 2023, but he was good enough to get Georgia all the way to the SEC championship last year, despite so many flaws on this team a year ago.
Yeah, I agree. I think you and I are both big Carson Beck defenders. I didn't like, it's easy to, like, I was just kind of comparing him to Carson Beck just because that's like the easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure. Carson Beck, I think Carson Beck is a lot closer to the reason Georgia won the SEC last year, to the reason that Georgia, didn't win the national championship or something. Like, Carson Beck.
Yeah, I think so.
I think positive than negative last year, even with some of the rough stretches he had.
Yeah, and I think most people think oh, Gunner's going to be better, but I don't think Gunner has to be better. I think if the receivers are as much better as I think they will be, I think the end result will be significantly better. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. Once you start defending someone, it's like I become a Carson Beck apologist or something. It was like LeBron. Like I was never a big LeBron fan, but
Oh,
the haters turned me into
yeah,
like an I
because
had
everything
to like I was an anti-LeBron hater essentially.
because they
That
come
made
up with the
sense.
most ridiculous arguments. It's like you have to defend them.
Yeah, we hit on a guy because he's the second greatest player of all time. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
But yeah, so we had a couple other topics, man, but it looks like we've gone over a little bit. We'll pick that up next week. Some recruiting wins. But
Yeah.
we'll have to touch on all that next week. But anything else before we sign off here that you wanted to say, sir?
Yeah, that's all I got, man. We'll find out.
All right, good stuff. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. That guy over there, Bo Underwood. I'm Matt Green. As always, go Dogs.
Go Dogs.